Welcome back. In this video, we're going to look at the Witkin guides. Now I say Witkin guides because there's 4 different versions. Summary of California Law, California Procedure, California Evidence, and California Criminal Law. When I worked at a California law school library, I would often see lawyers come rushing in through the front door, go straight to the reference section and pull a volume of one of these sets off the shelf and stand there and read for 5 to 10 minutes and then go rushing back out the door. I think they were probably just boning up on a subject before they had to go into court. Here's what one source has to say about the Witkin guides. I did a little Googling around and learned more about the history of the Witkin guides. It's pretty interesting how Bernard Witkin came to write these books. If that sort of thing interests you, I recommend you look into it. Here are the pictures of what the books look like. You can see they're all very similar. They just have different colors and different titles. This is a better view because I want to show you how the sets are organized. This is a summary of California law, and as you can see, it's multiple volumes, as all the sets are. This is the largest of the sets. It's organized into chapters. Some chapters, like contracts, take an entire volume. Other volumes contain multiple chapters. The names of the chapters are on the spine of the book, so you can quickly go to the set and find the volume or volumes that are on the general subject that you're interested in. So now I'm just going to quickly show you the other 3 sets and zoom in a little bit so you can get an idea of the chapter headings in each set. Now I'm just going to walk you through how to do a search using both the table of contents and the index approach for an issue. I'm only going to demonstrate one issue in the summary of California law because all 4 sets pretty much work the same way and look the same. Now suppose you are trying to find out how a father can voluntarily acknowledge paternity of a child born out of wedlock. So that's what we're going to research. If you want to take the table of contents approach, you would go to the summary of California law, you would look at the topic headings, and you would see, or the chapter headings, and you would see that there is a chapter called Parent and Child. So that's a good place to start. Now I've turned to the table of contents in the chapter on Parent-Child. You can see here it's actually a 2-part table of contents. First is the condensed outline, and second is the detailed outline. The condensed outline is a very broad outline of the subject, and it doesn't even take us into the individual sections in the chapter. This should remind you of the topic analysis in the case digests that we covered in an earlier video. Here we have the 5 main parts of this chapter, and each of the main parts we have 3 or 4 or 5 subparts to it that are important. The condensed outline allows us to try to narrow down the particular area of the chapter that we need to look. So for example, we're looking for information about the voluntary acknowledgement of parenthood. So we might go to part 2, which is parent-child relationship, and that's the only part that appears to apply to what we're interested in. So that's where I would go. A and B don't really appear to be what we're interested in, so it's probably under Uniform Parentage Act. So I'm going to look for the second part of the chapter in the section on Uniform Parentage Act. The detailed outline then begins on the right-hand side of this slide. Part 2 starts down at the beginning, but subpart C is further on, so I'm going to turn there. And now I'm going to run my finger down the table of contents under Uniform Parentage Act until I come to subpart 2C, which is paternity by voluntary declaration, which is exactly what I'm looking for. The discussion of this topic begins on section 21 and continues on for several sections. And so here is the beginning of that discussion. You can see it not only explains the topic, but it cites to statutes and cases. Now let's see how to find the same information using the index approach. Each set of Witkin has its own index, and here you can see the one for the Summary of California Law. It has an index along with all of its accompanying tables. But there's also a combined index that covers all of the sets of Witkin, so you can use that if you're not sure what set you should be looking at. It has a combined index along with all the accompanying tables. Here's a page of the Summary of California Index. I've looked under the heading Parent and Child, and under that I've looked for presumption because we're looking for presumption of paternity. And what it tells me is see presumption of paternity. What that means is don't look under parent and child. Instead, look in the index under presumption of paternity. So let's go look there. Now I'm looking under presumption of paternity, and I'm going to run my finger down the page of the index until I find something that says Declaration at Birth. See voluntary declaration, this group. What the words this group is telling me is don't go look somewhere else in the index. Stay under presumption of paternity, but look up voluntary declaration. So now let's look there. So staying under presumption of paternity, I look for voluntary declaration, and it tells me to go to section 21 at SEC, which is exactly where I knew we needed to be. And that's how you use Witkin in print. Now, if you should want to use Witkin online, it is published on Westlaw. It might also be available on Lexis if your account has it. Ours does not.